Yo, GM.
GM.
Oh, sorry, you caught me in the middle of a vibe coding session.
I just want to check that everyone can hear us before we get started. Stop counting.
YG's in the comments, he'll tell us.
Are we live right now?
We are live right now.
All right, no spilling alpha.
Yep, sweet, it's working. Alpha spilling. Off the
We
bat.
just give 60 minutes of Peter, unfiltered alpha.
Yeah, I mean, I can do it.
Sounds very bullish, to be honest.
Yeah, my stash is back, as everyone can see. So we are deep in the trenches of shipping and getting a bunch of stuff live. It's pretty cool.
That is the alpha stash if I've ever seen one before.
Awesome. Audio's working. All right, welcome everyone to the June edition of the SEDA community call, joined by Head of Marketing Matt and, of course, our vibe coding CEO specialist Peter. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Let's just jump straight to you, Peter. It's been a massive month. We're starting another big month. I don't know if everyone's caught the recap that went around at the end of May that touches on a lot of stuff, but I want to hear your thoughts, your feelings. Tell us what's going on, how you feeling. Give us the sort of wrap.
Yeah, I mean, bullish. It's amazing to see the community, taking our public incentivized testnet now and putting it to its limits. I think on the engineering side, we've been sort of gracefully keeping everything up and running. Of course, there's this moment when you get your first kind of product live into the hands of the community that you essentially are worried that, something might break, right? So we did the audit. We built all the code out. We launched it on, our internal network, then on DevNet, now on testnet. Testnet's been jamming along. I think we have a little over 361 Oracle programs now deployed. For those that are new to the community, because we've been gaining a ton of new followers every day, an Oracle program is essentially a piece of code that allows you to call any type of data from the real world via API, either public or private, and basically have that pushed on chain, to any network, right? So it's a very elegant, sort of design that differs from most, sort of existing oracles that deploy their infrastructure to every chain specifically. So it's quite a cool thing to see this traction. I was kind of trying to vibe code my own, basically, sort of tracking, because we have a new feature coming to the Explorer sometime soon over the next week or so, which will allow you to see basically transactions over time and give you sort of a cumulative view of transactions and also daily transactions in the bar graph. So I vibe coded my own. Didn't know what an indexer really did, so I used RPC calls. So that caused a little bit of sleepless nights for the engineering team as I pushed our sort of CPU load up 200,000% from normal operation, but didn't break. Everything stayed correct and ran well. But yeah, it's really cool to see SEDA being burned, seeing Oracle programs go live, and seeing a lot of really cool data feeds being brought on chain. Also, some weird ones around Shrek quotes last night. Thank you, Ben, for that. But it's cool. I mean, it's like whatever you want to build. We've seen Ben has created some Oracle programs recently for an average price of eggs across different types, like organic eggs and non-organic, as an example. So you can go long or short on the price of your eggs in your local area. Bringing Pokemon cards on chain, so you can basically tokenize and trade your cards. This morning I shipped an Oracle program to allow you to go long or short on Mr. Beast. So we've been building this for Plume and a couple other networks to basically allow their developers to build perps on social data and sentiment. So I mean, yeah, we've just been cooking. I think the whole team isn't sleeping very much right now. It's kind of hard to with all the excitement and all the sort of cool movements going on around testnet. But yeah, it's super awesome to see developers building super cool use cases and also constantly expanding what we think is possible. I mean, we have our own internal vision of what SEDA does, but then every day it's something totally new pops up that a developer creates, and we're like, oh wow, okay, like that's actually really cool, and it's totally out of left field, and they're using SEDA in a way we didn't even imagine, right? So it's quite interesting to see it for sure.
It's been really cool with the incentivized testnet that we're running at the moment to see the community get their hands on the product and let their imagination run wild. And we have these internal chats where we look at what's being submitted, and it's celebrated within the team, which is really nice to see the engineering team who's somewhat disconnected from the community. They're not in there every day. They're obviously off, making SEDA happen. But it's really nice to have these internal discussions of community getting their hands on a product for once, which is, Matt, something that I think we agree is quite unique in Web3, especially this sort of early. So I think that's a really exciting component, is that the team is celebrating our community, getting their hands on it, and trying to push it to its limits. I mean, so far we've been successful. Testnet's been handling everything really, really well, which is super exciting.
Yeah. And I mean, what's even more impressive is that we're doing this all without an airdrop, right? And making people, give us random usage for no reason, right? And I don't know any other Oracle and or protocol encrypted today that's just like, we built something really cool. We're not going to pay you to use it. You're going to use it because you love it, right? And that's, I think, like the coolest part here is that we're not doing an airdrop. We're not creating hype for no reason. We're just saying, here's a product. That thing that you've been imagining that you want to build for the past couple of years but couldn't. It's now accessible. Deploy it. Get it. It's there. And I think that's like the coolest thing because a lot of these, protocols that are building these airdrop campaigns, and they have their incentivized test nets that build and build and build. At the end, their chart looks very beautiful, right, with traction, and all of a sudden, their incentivized test net stops, and they go to mainnet, and their usage, not even their price, their usage chart just drops off, a cliff, and all of a sudden, all that organic usage that they were touting wasn't so organic. And so, at SEDA, our team has been committed to first principles to build, an organic developer community, an organic demand for our product. And, finally, with something in the hands of the community, we're seeing that come to fruition. And, when you see user numbers on SEDA, that they're organic, and that they're actually there for the longer term and not just a blip on the radar. So that's, I think, the most exciting part for me.
Yeah, Matt, this is something that we have a lot of discussions around in terms of the marketing side of things, right? We look at what everyone else is doing. We figure out how we're going to do it in a unique way. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, the path that SEDA's taking is unique. It's organic. Give us sort of the TLDR on how you see this rollout.
Yeah, 100%. I see a comment now coming through that says, so literally SEDA is for builders. As a product in a traditional world, yes, SEDA would be for builders. But the thing that I have been most bullish on with this incentivized testnet, and I wrote a response to a tweet last night about it, is that I think that we're the only incentivized testnet in the infra level and deep infra where anybody can get their hands dirty with the product, which speaks to two things. One, how much we're trying to distribute what would typically not be a product you would distribute to anyone, to the wider Web3 communities, and getting them to come in and vibe code and touch the product. But also it speaks to just how easy the product is to use. You and me, Ben, we were sitting bringing wheat and corn on chain for the last few hours before this call. Tokenized farm yields, anybody? So for me, when I think about what we've been doing in the marketing side of things, the big question is, how do you, like Peter was talking about, how do you get people to stay excited beyond the airdrop, right? They do the airdrop, they sell, they leave, they go on to the next thing. And the next question is, well, how do you get people who would not typically be excited about, a developer product excited about it? And I think we've found that intersection with vibe coding and people bringing all kinds of cool stuff on chain, being able to see it on the Explorer. And I think what I'm seeing now is that people who would never have touched this product believe in our vision. And that's the big answer, is like they see what we're doing. They see now that all the stuff that we've been talking about relentlessly for 12 months about other oracles, legacy oracles, where the industry was, where it's going, where we fit in, and how we're building to be this modular data layer that brings the whole internet on chain, and how we, all the different analogies that we've used. They're seeing it because they're doing it. And that then makes them see our vision, and then that gets them on the train. And then, kudos to our team. I had a call with a Web3 marketing agency today, And we left the call him being like, I don't think I have anything to offer you guys. I mean, your team is so, you guys are so active on Twitter. You've got a really good vision of what's going on. And I thought about that after, and I thought, yeah, we're building these relationships one-on-one, no matter who you are, whether you're a builder and a project that's being funded, $20 million into your project, and you want to use SEDA, or if you're, somewhere else in the world who's just hanging out on X, we're building these relationships. So I think that's a pretty good take on what we're doing in the marketing. We're big on relationships, we're big on people falling in love with our vision and touching our product. And I think we're nailing it at all fronts.
Yeah, I think like the white glove treatment, right? We do things that don't scale. We are taking the time to make sure that no matter who you are, we're trying to help you have the best experience building on SEDA as possible. And yeah, I mean, I think there's volume in that, right? Like, the guys from Solana, like Raj and Anatoly, who follow me, they can DM me and I'll give them attention, obviously, right? And but somebody who just started their Twitter account with 0 followers, if they're building an Oracle program, I'm going to hop on a call with you, right? And on Sunday night, there was a dev who reached out and said, "Hey, I saw your pump fund thing. I want to build perps. Can we hop on a call?" And I said, "Sure, give me 5 minutes." And it's just like we're trying our best to be as accessible and sort of like approachable as possible, because in the end, with most oracles, the team is the blocker, right? The team is the one who's gatekeeping the access to the oracle. And with SEDA, that's not the case. You're able to come in, build exactly the use case that you want and need. You don't even need to talk to us, right? We're here to help. But in most cases, a lot of people building these Oracle programs, they don't even contact our team. They go to our docs, they go to our faucet, and they're up and running. They don't need, our blessing. They don't need our help. They just say, "Hey, we'll use the docs. We'll develop this and deploy it." And that's a really awesome feeling, not to be a blocker to innovation. I think, we've seen this time and time again. Crypto is no different than traditional startups. As a startup founder, you have limited runway. You have, limited time to ship your idea and execute on it. And if you run out of money, that's it, right? And you can't keep going. And so by shortening the time, by saying, something that would have taken you 6 to 9 months to get now takes you 30 minutes. It's a really big benefit that I'm very proud about for our developers, that, we're able to return their time back to building the product that they want and need, rather than wasting their time chasing oracles in DMs on Twitter and Telegram.
Yeah, actually, and just to follow on from that too, is that when they do come to SEDA, traditionally what you see with legacy oracles or with many projects in the space is they will give support up until the logo. They'll drop the announcement out there, and then that's where it ends. Where some of the first partners that we're speaking to at the moment, I won't spill the beans now, but we're talking marketing campaigns that span 3 months, 2 to 3 months, with builders, with application devs on their networks, with their communities as well. So where logo ends for some people, it's just the beginning when you build with SEDA as well. Like, we're there to support builders beyond just trying to hype our own narrative.
Yeah.
And the build experience flips on its head, right? Because you go from, all right, what do these legacy oracles offer me in terms of data, and what can I build with that, to literally looking on the internet and going, what can I build with any data? Now that you can bring it on with SEDA, it's like, even just for us vibe coding, I go have a look at some of the API listing sites, and look at, just before this call, I was looking at that you can, we could bring any space launch. So anything from, SpaceX to anything that NASA's doing, we could bring that on. And there's like so many interesting bits of data that can now be brought on chain to make super interesting apps on any blockchain. And that's just a completely 180 from how developers have to think about things now with legacy oracles.
Yeah, for sure. So there's rumor that Elon Musk runs Autism Capital, which has followed me and SEDA in the past before. So if you're listening, Elon, you can now get coverage insurance decentralized for your rocket launches.
Nice. Speaking of some marketing stuff as well, Matt, we've got DX feeds went live. There's a couple other little things in the pipeline. Can we drop some alpha? What can we talk about? Give us a little rundown.
Well, I will leave the alpha to Peter. As if I spill too much alpha, that's I can't get away with it like he can. But I'll give you a segue, Peter, and then you can maybe dive a little bit deeper what's going behind the scenes. We announced Conduit. If you want to know more on what's going behind the integration there, basically one click deployments, one-click RAS deployments on Conduit now come with day one data access. So traditionally what would happen is you would spin up your network using a RAS as a like roll up as a service. And the narrative around that was like, spin up a blockchain, get going from day one. But the reality around that was, it was like an empty blockchain. It was a ghost town blockchain. It didn't have any data coming through because you would have to then go and start the conversations with legacy oracles and go through the whole integration process, whether some of the, oracles are from like $250,000 just to integrate up to, over $1 million from what we've gathered. And these conversations could go for 3, 6, 9 months, and then you would have to have the traction to get those legacy oracles, everything we said before. We're mitigating that by basically allowing Conduit developers, as they spin up their network, to be able to deploy the proof of contract, connect the solvers, deploy the Oracle programs, and then start querying any data that they want from day one. So before, where we were just launching, everyone was saying it like, give us another L2, give us another L2. Now these L2s can come with purpose on day one, instead of having this like vision that then they burn up their runway trying to get to and never quite get there. It's the same thing. It's like you can spin up a blockchain, but now you can spin up an effective blockchain using Conduit. So very excited about that integration. We'll keep dropping some more news as that rolls out as well. We announced DX feeds yesterday, which Peter, I might throw to you because you've actually been helping build that Oracle program related to those feeds.
Yeah, so DX feed is probably like the largest evolution for crypto so far, right? Right now, stocks on chain was sort of like a very bad experience, right? If you look at buying Coinbase shares from Bakkt, right? You're buying a stock that's fully uncorrelated from the real world. So it, trades in an AMM pool with $150,000 of liquidity. When Coinbase is closed, it has wild price swings, right? It's for speculation. Market makers are not active there. It's an AMM pool, so it's not being actively arbed by any professional institutions. And one of the biggest reasons why is because you don't have the same access to data, right? So, what happens if you have a dividend on chain, right? So you want to have a dividend go out from a stock that, now how do you pay this out to shareholders? Who's doing that, right? Is there a broker that exists somewhere that's handling this? In most cases, these one-to-one issued stocks are nothing more than essentially a funny money coupon, where you can say, I have my logo of Coinbase in my wallet. With DXFeed, in combination with protocols like Ondo, Collateralize, and Plume, this brings trading stocks to the next level. And it creates a way that, asset issuers can come and, essentially create a, token that mirrors that asset one-to-one, including all of the sort of, good and the bad that comes with a stock, from the real world. So that means that if there's a dividend, right, a broker is able to pay this out on chain to a user directly. If there's a stock split, so as an example, if you have, Apple trading at, I have no idea, let's call it $100, and the stock splits 100 times, all of a sudden you have downstream effects of that, right? If your Oracle is still reporting $100 because that's what it was at before, all of a sudden you have, one share of Apple that now on chain is worth $100 and off chain worth 1. So, you go to a lending market, now you have an exploit, right? So to create sort of the downstream effects of, we want to be able to have a stock issued on a chain, have it available anywhere, not just on the chain that was issued, but accessible from any L1 or L2, from any wallet or user using chain abstraction like Universal X or One Balance or Socket, have it be able to, match the existing asset, through the whole life cycle of the asset, not just when it's minted, but it tracks and follows that asset's life cycle, no matter what's happening to the asset, whatever corporate actions happening off chain is reflected on chain, and be able to have that safe so that you can then use that asset for lending, use that asset to mint a stable coin, whatever it may be. You need that entire sort of flow to work. And DXFeed, is a really great partner of ours. They provide institutional data for, a lot of the big, trading firms and brokerages today. And now they're bringing that same institutional grade data on chain via SEDA to power the next evolution of stocks. And there's no other Oracle that can provide this. We are the only Oracle today that has access to this granularity of data that goes beyond a price feed. We are not offering a stock feed. We're not offering a price. We're offering the entire suite of corporate actions around a stock that make it what it is, today in the traditional world and so valuable. So that's the alpha leak, the full in-depth, why we're excited about DXFeed. And DXFeed marks the first of many traditional data providers that we've been onboarding that are in our pipeline right now. And the coolest part about it, I mean, I won't leak who because they're still in our pipeline. I won't say the Oracle because you'll then be able to identify them very easily. But one of the largest data providers from a traditional Oracle, one of our competitors that today is, their main source of data, reached out to us and said, "How do we get started with SEDA? We saw your announcement of DX feed. We want to get live." And to go from that conversation to them deploying their data proxy and making their entire suite of API endpoints available on chain took them about 30 minutes from us sending the docs to them being live. This same integration process took them over a year with the existing Oracle they're live with today. And it just shows you that, when we send documentation to a developer team that's worth their weight in salt, they're able to deploy something super easily, super fast, and get live and be able to start, making revenue in a totally new way with their data. Whereas existing Oracles, pigeonhole them into very, exclusive and one-sided contracts in the Web2 world that make it so that providing data on chain is entirely unattractive. So it's something that we don't talk about a lot. It's something that's kind of like behind the scenes of our business, right? We talk mostly about use cases on chain. We talk about networks. We talk about protocols. But the blood, the oil that runs this entire ecosystem is the data. And SEDA is aggregating the best data providers across RWAs, for stocks, real estate, crypto price feeds, and sports data. Any type of data you can find, probably SEDA has it available. And so that's the alpha leak on the data provider side.
Absolutely huge. And on the back of that, maybe we could talk about, we had a couple of other partners sort of coming up that were sort of around accessing the token in different networks as well, which we haven't officially announced, but the community have come across, obviously. So I don't know if you want to allude to who they are officially.
Yeah. So there's two protocols that we're building some RWA stock things for currently in like a POC. One of them rhymes with subjective, and the other one rhymes with cyber rigid. Let's say. So you can probably guess who they are, but yeah, I mean, we're delivering an experience on chain that no other Oracle can deliver to these providers, and we're working with two of the largest protocols today in crypto that are building perps and trading for crypto tokens that are now exploring building this same perp infrastructure for U.S. stocks to begin, and I believe European following after that. So, with this integration with the XFeed, this means that we'll be able to provide them over 9,000, US traded equities and over 2,500 ETFs. So it's a quite large offering. To put that into perspective, most existing Oracles have 25 to 50 US equities. They claim on the chain that you actually need them on, it's more like 4 or 3, usually even on testnet, not even a mainnet. So it's a pretty big partnership that we're working on behind the scenes right now. Won't give too much more info on that. We're testing the info right now and providing them with some POCs. And then, I'll shill Superseed for a second. We have deployed Superseed. We've deployed our prover and our hosted solver infrastructure to support data requests from Superseed. I believe that we've now had about 3,000 or 4,000 data requests, originate on the Superseed chain to SEDA and be posted back. So the infra is being, sort of stress tested right now and is performing, as expected, even better than expected with in terms of latency. And so we've been, working with Superseed team to bring a lot of new assets on chain. I know, Matt, you've been working on some, marketing efforts. So that after we do our integration there, we continue to, connect and incentivize with protocols and developers there. Superseed is something I'm very passionate about personally because, and by the way, I own a little super seed, so don't buy it. Not financial advice, based on my recommendation. But I'm passionate about it because back in 2020, I tried to shill Stani and also Robert Leshner from Compound on building their own chain for lending, and I think it's probably one of the most underexplored and largest opportunities in crypto today to be able to provide lending in a permissionless way for any token in crypto, and they're providing this experience now, and so we're very excited to be one of the oracles that's working with them, and I think the first one that will deliver data to them in a meaningful way.
Curious to pick your brains. You just were going deep onto like the RWA front. You were talking about perps. Someone on our last call, I believe, asked what was kind of the biggest use case for SEDA about a month ago. If people have been following your Twitter specifically, Peter, you've just recently dropped an Oracle program for YouTube sentiment on Mr. Beast. We dropped some alpha around programs that could work for camp or noise for TikTok sentiment. We dropped an article today. Stefan dropped an article about what we could do for AI-centric network, Neura. Obviously, we had the partnership with Kalani for their agents as well. Where is your head at now? Like, if someone was to ask you this month, what's kind of the biggest use case being built on SEDA now that we're sort of showcasing what is happening behind the scenes? Do you still sit in the RWA camp, or are you starting to come out to other areas?
It's a good question. I'll put it this way: RWAs share the same characteristics as perps, that they're both data that's hard to get on chain for existing oracles and disgustingly easy for us to do. I think that they're both super interesting. I think one is the evolution of crypto crossing over into TradFi, and the other one is crypto becoming more degenerate within crypto, right? I think they're both very different, right? One is I'm going to make sure that your parent, like a boomer, can take their stock from, Robinhood or E-Trade or wherever they trade it, send it to a broker and borrow against it so they can afford to pay off their mortgage or, buy a new car, go on vacation, whatever it may be. That will be powered by SEDA. The other one is, 100x leverage on Dick Butt token, right, from Pump.Fun. And they're very different products. They're both very large opportunities for SEDA as an Oracle because they both generate a lot of demand for our block space and our network. I'm not more excited for one in the short term because we can serve both. It's not an opportunity cost question, right? If it was an opportunity cost question, then we would pick the one that generates the most value for our organization in the beginning. But because we're able to support both equally and as easily, we really don't have to make a choice. And that's actually one of the core guiding principles of SEDA, why we built SEDA the way that we did. Every other Oracle that you talk to as a builder or developer or community, they are in a war room every day trying to figure out where to go next. They're looking at Kaido dashboards for some reason. They're looking at botted transactions on every new L1 launch, trying to figure out, where do we send our developers resources in the next, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. We don't have to do that. We don't play that game. We don't, where we are excelling is playing an infinite game by saying we're easily accessible horizontally from any network, from any protocol, for any use case. We don't have to decide one use case is better than the other. That's the political answer. It's perps. Um, Most excited about perps, like being able to go long or short on like a creator, as an example, on like TikTok or YouTube is pretty sweet. I was talking to the culture team from Plume yesterday, and I saw this YouTube channel called Sickos. They're kind of like Jackass, but a little bit not as I guess like crazy. Like they're just like extreme sports basically. Found their channel when they were like 20,000 subscribers. Was DMing with them back in the day, saying like, good luck on the journey. Now I think they're either over 400 or 500,000 subscribers now over the past like 8 months, really blown up a lot. And I actually considered, I was like, hey, I do investments. Like, are you guys looking for external capital? And they were interested, but in the end, I've never done an investment outside of crypto, so I ended up not pursuing it. And I was like, man, like if I could have been early to the next Mr. Beast, that would have been pretty sweet. And being able to get synthetic exposure to that, being able to buy a perp and long a creator that I think is interesting and cool. It has ramifications that, go past the Kaido Yap, like Cookie DAO, Laudio, Silentio, sort of, metric, which is like attention no longer matters. Like you can get upside. So if you find a creator, like if you find, Matt or Ben on Twitter and you like their content, you can now go long synthetically and get access, to their upside as they grow as, creator on whatever platform they're on.
There's also shorting those with their 15 minutes of fame, right? Like imagine if you'd shorted the Huck Tour girl before she launched her token, or the Island Boys a few years ago. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, Island Boys actually made a cameo for me back in the day for a token. I'll see if I can scrape that up on Twitter. If you scroll really deep into the middle of DeFi summer in 2021, you'll see the Island Boys shilling Beam, which is one of my angel investments. Yeah, I see we got a question from SK about the migration window. So yes, the migration window has been closed. We paused the contracts on the Ethereum side and also on the SEDA side. So the upgrade is now fully shut off. On-chain and all the infrastructure has been spun down. We will be releasing more info on the final numbers of tokens that were upgraded, how many are left in Ethereum that need to be burned. There's also the FLX, which is left in the treasury on the Ethereum side that will be burned. That's already been mirrored on the SEDA side at the launch of Genesis. So we'll have a bit more information probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks going out. Right now, our main focus is getting mainnet live, but now the contracts are fully off. So that FLX that's left from the community is now, people who didn't upgrade their tokens, unfortunately, it's now closed. But we'll reach sort of a full consensus on what that looks like, and then release more information over the next few weeks.
Bullish.
I was just having a bit of a scroll back through your profile, Peter, because a couple of days ago you wanted a bit of a tweet storm. I don't know what you call it now with X, a post storm. Looking at some of the potential numbers with data requests and what that looks like over the course of a year, the bucket makes a return. Nice.
That's not a bucket. It's a
you got
a
small
very
hands
nice,
or a big glass.
Yeah. So this is for you normal folk, this is about the size of a basketball. I should have like really massive hands to hold it. But no, it's actually not that big if you compare it to like a mug. It's like
a huge
relatively similar. So yeah, it actually it's a pretty big mug. It's not really a good comparison. Here's my AirPod case. But no, it's actually it's like a soup jar that I enjoy drinking water out of because it's a lot of water in one easy place. Stay hydrated.
Where I was going was, I thought it was a really interesting tweet storm I think people should check out, because you put some of the numbers down about what we're actually looking at. We've had a bunch of new attention lately. There's new people following us. I think one thing I'd like to sort of clarify, I think people may not have looked at, is how the SEDA token actually functions within the system and how that actually works going through a transaction and data request. I know we've got some docs on it, but maybe could you give us, Matt or Peter, the TLDR on what happens when a data request happens with the actual SEDA token?
Yeah, for sure. So we have like a lot of docs that walk through this in a more granular way, but I can give like a quick overview. So in a normal Oracle, when you go to their team and you ask for a data feed, that is usually done in a Web 2 way. You have a contract, you pay a monthly or yearly amount, and they provide the data specified in the contract. So let's say every minute on chain. Because SEDA operates like any other L1, like Ethereum or Solana or whatever it may be, developers, when they deploy this Oracle program, are essentially deploying a set of instructions that live on the SEDA chain that tell you exactly what data you should call and what data you should access either via API or a data proxy. So the SEDA token, it's a bit two roles, I guess you could say. The one major role is securing the network. So it's used by validators either through their own ownership of the token or through delegation to secure the main SEDA L1. So this is a proof of stake blockchain. It's built on Tendermint. So with the Cosmos SDK, and basically, validators stake the token to secure the chain and produce blocks. Under that, we have the overlay network, and the overlay network are sort of a uncapped permissionless subset of nodes that are actually tasked with calling data and posting it to the SEDA chain. So these overlay nodes also stake the SEDA token. Right now, it's the actual SEDA token. In the future, it could be, as an example, like a liquid staking version of the token. So you could, delegate first and then, use that liquid staking token. But right now, it's just the pure SEDA token. You stake that, and if you're called as an overlay node to call data, you're assigned an Oracle program. You run that Oracle program, call the data, either via API or data proxy, return that on chain. If you acted in an honest way, you get rewarded for that through the Oracle program. If you act in a malicious way and you try to censor the data, or you don't, reveal the data on chain as expected, then you're slashed, and there's a slashing of the tokens. In the first version, for our initial release, we have that overlay network whitelisted. So we're onboarding first our professional validators from the SEDA chain to run this in a sort of more sandboxed environment while we do testing. And then the first sort of larger release that we do after the mainnet will be opening up that overlay network to a permissionless version so that anybody can run. So the idea is that the Cosmos chain will likely be let's say between 50 to 100 validators in total after the mainnet launch, and the overlay network is tasked to be tens of thousands of nodes, if not hundreds of thousands of nodes that all independently operate and post data to the chain. So that's like the security aspect, staking, security. And then on the data request side, when you are a developer, let's say on Base, and you want to access data on the SEDA chain, what you do is you are paying ETH or USDC or whatever the native token is of that chain in gas. You create a data request and you say, hey, I want to call this Oracle program ID on this chain. Here is, let's say, $1, in ETH to do this task. Then our hosted solvers are monitoring, these chains. Also, people can run their own solvers and compete with us, and basically post that data request for a fee to the SEDA network. So once that data request is posted, that solver is actually keeping that ETH or USDC, whatever it may be, and they're using their own inventory of SEDA that they either are getting from the open market or however they're obtaining it. And then they are using the SEDA to actually pay for the data request. So the gas of the chain is paid in SEDA. We abstract that to the developer. That way you don't need to have SEDA on every single chain that we integrate with, which is a feature that we've built in. And that token is then burned within the data request, and so you have a portion of that that's paid, to the validators as a transaction fee. You have a portion that's burned, and that's the other component of the SEDA token. So every data request that flows through the network is burning SEDA and providing, sort of a utility for our token and the network itself. So that's like I think pretty concise overview. Again, in our docs, you can dive a bit deeper. I'm explaining it from the top of my head. So if you want like a better overview, you can dive into our docs. And so we're the only Oracle that actually, the token and network are used within every data request. And we don't have, off-chain deals for data where we, are moving the value off-chain to an entity, whereas most of the oracles that exist today are doing so, and then basically just posting the data on chain. So the SEDA token has a very strong utility within our network and is needed to actually interact with the network.
I think it's very bullish when the CEO can, off the top of his head, explain the entire token flow. I think that was a great overview. And like you said, Matt's written some really good blogs, and we've got some great visuals on the token flow, so you can actually visualize how that all maps out.
For sure. Yeah. I think it'll be exciting to see how SEDA token is, how much SEDA is burned over the next. We were already tracking like 7-day on testnet. With the mainnet release, I think we'll be doing cumulative tracking as well. And so that's a pretty cool thing to track over time as well.
Lovely. Matt, have you got any last bits and pieces you want to throw out to the community? I know you're semi-vibe coding as well.
I am, yeah. I was
typing the whole time.
I was trying to bring Harry Potter spells on chain doing this because you brought Pokemon cards on. So then I was building a program for Dragon Ball Z cards because I thought that's, they go hand in hand. Don't just bring part of my childhood on chain, we'll bring the whole thing. But the API has been taken offline for Dragon Ball Z, so I need to find another way to do that. But what would I say on the marketing front? What I'm very excited for at the moment is two things. One, obviously the incentivized testnet continues. We've got 2 weeks of DeFi Oracle programs to be vibe coded, and Ben and I have been really getting into the vibe coding, really looking at some of the errors. Peter, you jumped on, and we've got a recording that we're going to edit for that as well. Our goal is to be able to pump out some videos for different Oracle programs, RWA Oracle programs, DeFi Oracle programs, sports data, random data, so that we can pump out a bunch of videos for YouTube where people can go and watch and get a sense check on some of the errors that they might come into contact when doing DeFi, AI, whatever it might be. So we're going to get those out there because I know a lot of the community want to participate in the incentivized testnet, but it's their first time interacting with Cursor. So obviously some of the interactions there are unfamiliar. So looking to solve those challenges. And I think that'll bring even more people. Our second week actually doubled the amount of Oracle programs that were coming through. So that's huge news as well. We've put together a little vibe code cabal on Telegram. So if anyone wants to get into the private vibe code cabal group, you must be a SEDA maxi and you got to DM me on X and I'll get you the link to join that group. The second thing is that I'm cooking up a lot of tangible use case content right now. So now that we've started to tease out Oracle programs that SEDA can power, I want to really sort of double down on where this goes into the future across the next 12, 24 months in a very simple, digestive way. So we've lent a lot into long form content, but we'll have some single tweets, single graphics on some really cool ideas that the average person can do to tokenize, whatever it is in their world, bring their life on chain in a relevant way that benefits them, benefits their community or people around them. So very excited to get that out. And then, of course, we're still in the dynamic testnet phase going towards mainnet. So we could be there any day right now. Engineers are absolutely cooking, working around the clock. But I would say just my biggest kind of thing that I want to note is just all the new people that have come through in the last 2 to 3 weeks who have stuck around as part of the testnet or just seen us on Twitter. Really want to get involved in helping you guys onboard to whether it's vibe coding, whether it's understanding more about SEDA. So all of our DMs are always open. You can catch us in Discord, open a support ticket if you want one-on-one. Happy to chat with anyone and everyone. And let's just SEDA build the world, I guess. So yeah, all green flags from my side.
Yeah, for those that are partaking in the incentivized testnet, the week 2 voting closes tomorrow at 12 noon CET time. And then at some point in the afternoon, I believe 5:30 p.m. CET, week 3 will be released. I think the alpha is that it's DeFi this week. So get ready for that. Should be a lot of fun to see what people cook up with some DeFi feeds. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's quite an accessible Oracle program to build, I would say. So for those that are on the fence that maybe haven't decided to jump in yet, this is a really good week to give it a go. Like Matt said, jump in the Discord if you need any support. We're improving the guide every time that we find a better way of doing it as well. So if you've had a go and you found it a bit difficult, jump in again, asking your questions. We're finding more and more we're finding better ways essentially to improve that vibe code experience and get Oracle programs live. So definitely encourage everyone this Thursday to jump in. Vote for your favorite Oracle program for this week. You got another 24 hours to do that, or just under, and then week 3 will be live tomorrow.
And the alpha on that, actually, sorry to spill some more alpha, is Ben and I have been cooking up some different campaign ideas that aren't just vibe coding on a week to week. We've got some kind of really cool ideas. I don't want to spill the beans, but they're different, kind of an Oracle program, Hunger Games style vibe, where there's different kind of arenas, digital arenas, if you like, tasks that need to be done with Oracle programs, single or in team. So the way that I would be looking at this, if I was planning on sticking around SEDA and getting my hands on some more incentives in the future, would be this is your training to get up to speed on the vibe coding before we start to release some even more fun and engaging ways to get your hands on incentives. This will go on beyond mainnet. This will just be something that we do here and there. So definitely get your hands on it.
Yeah, I think the first few I did took me 60 to 90 minutes, and now the last one I did for Corn took me 10 minutes. So the time to feed is reducing dramatically.
Time to corn feed, you mean? Or
Time to corn feed. Yeah. It's longer. It takes longer to cook corn than it does to deploy a corn feed.
yeah, exactly. Also, one last thing to say to the community: I bought somebody a laptop because they got stolen, and they wanted to, participate in the OP incentive program. I will not be buying every person a laptop that DMs me. So, it's out of the goodness of my heart. That was not SEDA money. I did that personally. So please stop DMing me, asking me to buy you a laptop. It's not going to happen. Sorry, you should have been first.
Shout out to Peter for that. It was a very nice move.
Yeah, anytime.
And shout out to Sonoya as well for getting into it and actually cooking up an Oracle program. Massive testament to what we're building, actually. Stefan just sent you a DM. Love it. Straight from the team. But he got that laptop and cooked up his first Oracle program in the space of 24,
really cool.
hours.
Pretty
exciting.
That's why I wanted to help him, because you really wanted to participate in the program and build some cool stuff. And it's really cool to see. I mean, unfortunately, you can't develop on mobile. I know a lot of people have been saying that they don't have a computer and wish that they could participate in the sort of vibe code sessions. But in general, maybe Cursor, and we'll find a way to help, maybe through GitHub, that we could build some type of way to deploy on mobile at some point in the future. But it's a difficult effort that we don't have a ton of time on to spend on right now. Then one last update. So we did push some changes. So if there's any validators that are listening, there's a testnet vote that's live right now to upgrade to the latest version on the chain, to implement some fixes and optimizations for the core chain. So if you're listening and you haven't voted yet, please do so we can get this proposal passed. It's expedited, so I believe it's done this afternoon, correct? Or this evening, I believe.
Awesome. Any final thoughts, guys, before we wrap up? Any final questions? Chuck them in the chat right now, or else you'll be too late. Otherwise,
I need to go to the testnet faucet.
You and I both. Keep running back there. No.
Yeah. Mario.
Ben.
Awesome. Ben private keyed me last night, idiot. And
I gave it to you out of the goodness of my heart. You need more laptops, sir.
Exactly. Then I stole some of his testnet data.
45 testnet tokens.
Awesome. Thanks for the time, guys. Thank you for everyone that listened in. Really appreciate it. And follow along. We've been tweeting nonstop all the developments, so stay tuned. Make sure notifications are on.
That's right. And we've got the engineering blitz coming out with Jasper this week as well. So keep your eyes peeled. Look at the announcements. Make sure you're following the whole team as well. Peter, Matt, I, and the rest of the team tweet quite a lot. There's a lot of different bits of alpha dropping in different places. So don't just follow the main SEDA account, although you should also be following that. Jump into all the channels, follow our personal accounts, because you never know where the next little nugget of gold will come from. And with that, that's done. Thank you very much, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.